Somehow, amid literally everything else that could possibly be considered controversial in the world right now, one of the most hotly contested things happening in pop culture is the outrage surrounding the surprise cancellation of a Tim Allen sitcom. Now, chances are, if you're part of the demographic that generally watches this show, the fact that Tim Allen even had a sitcom after Home Improvement is probably news to you, but he did. It was called Last Man Standing, featured Allen as the old-school man's man CEO of a chain of sporting goods stores, hilariously grappling with a home life dominated by his professional-minded wife and 3 ambitious adult daughters, and had been running on ABC since 2011, making effectively zero noteworthy impact on the broader pop culture landscape, but drawing what you'd generally consider decent ratings for a network TV sitcom in the 21st century. As such, it was a little bit surprising when the series wasn't renewed by ABC a week or so back, since it had been considered one of the safer bets on the channel. If you follow the business side of the medium, you'd most likely have to attribute it to scheduling and long-term production costs. Though airing on ABC, the series was actually a production of 20th Century Fox, and had been operating under a 6-season limited contract wherein Fox was picking up the actual costs of making the show. Those 6 years having expired, ABC would have had to begin paying those production costs itself had they opted to pick up the show for season 7, meaning that the most likely scenario is that ABC felt there was more profit to be had picking up a new series under a similar sweetheart arrangement than in keeping a veteran series past the point where it would suddenly become much more expensive. And hey, you know, if you're a big fan of Last Man Standing, that kinda sucks. I mean, I saw my favorite TV show get canceled twice, so I get it. TV networks pull shitty shit in the name of bottom line sometimes. It happens. So why is this a huge thing right now? Well, because a week or so prior to the cancellation, Tim Allen had gone on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, also on ABC, fancy that, and had the following to say about having attended the presidential inauguration of one Donald Trump.
You got to be real careful around here. You know, you get beat up. If you don't believe what everybody believes, this is like 30s Germany. I don't know what happened. If you're not part of the group, you know what we believe is right. I go, well, I might have a...
Okay, setting aside that even sarcastically comparing being a Republican in Hollywood to being Jewish in Germany during the Holocaust, being a poorly considered joke even on the curve you might generously afford the star of Jungle to Jungle, For Richer or Poorer, Joe Somebody, Christmas with the Cranks, Wild Hogs, and something called The Six Wives of Henry LaFay, you can probably imagine where a somehow still surprising number of people have decided to take this, hatching an online conspiracy theory that ABC axed the show to punish Tim Allen for an act of political heresy because, in case you've recently emerged from a coma, in which case I have some interesting news, the idea of straight white nominally conservative men being in some way an oppressed victim class has gained significant traction among exactly the sort of people who would sign and circulate political protest positions about network television sitcoms. But alright, is it completely outside the realm of possibility that Tim Allen briefly becoming a conservative talking point helped in the ABC network's decision to shitcan his show? I mean, not completely. I mean, it's hugely unlikely, like astronomically so. Whatever anyone at ABC actually thinks of Tim Allen, ABC is owned by Disney, which means Tim Allen, who is the co-star of one of the company's biggest multimedia franchises, is basically family. Plus, anyone who deigns to care about the political leanings of celebrities already knew that Tim Allen was a Republican, or at least conservative, whatever the hell that means anymore, and it certainly hasn't seemed to hurt his career any more than it has the careers of Vince Vaughn, Alice Cooper, Tom Selleck, Sylvester Stallone, Adam Sandler, Angie Harmon, Sam Raimi, David Spade, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Craig T. Nelson, Caitlyn Jenner, or The Rock. More broadly, though, the largely manufactured fake outrage does raise the specter of whether or not this signals some kind of sea change moment for the television market, i.e. the question of, even if one doesn't believe a political conspiracy was aimed at dislodging the former star of the Santa Claus trilogy from his network show, whether it means something significant that a major network would no longer consider one of the relatively few noteworthy series that made an explicit appeal to a nominally right-of-center audience worth keeping on the air. And while tied to a lot of that same tinfoil hat bullshit, that's a little more interesting to unpack. Students of television history cite as one of the defining moments of the modern TV landscape to be a set of programming decisions made primarily at the CBS network between 1970 and 1972, collectively referred to as the Rural Purge, which involved the then-shocking mass cancellation of that network's still very popular slate of largely apolitical, family-oriented series built around characters and settings from America's heartland, like the Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, The New Andy Griffith Show, Hee Haw, Mayberry RFD, and Lassie, in favor of new, edgier shows built around topical storylines and aimed at a more urban metropolitan sensibility, like All in the Family, The Jeffersons, MASH, Maude, and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. At the time, this was one of the most controversial and substantial programming shifts ever undertaken, even though today those and other replacement shows are remembered as themselves some of the most important series ever to air in the TV comedy landscape. And there are still those today who believe the so-called Rural Purge was driven more by ideology than by numbers, continuing to allege that CBS head of programming Fred Silverman had been actively looking to transform his network into a mouthpiece for the kind of progressive politics associated with urban metropolitan settings and characters. Officially, though, it was mostly a shift in programming programming priorities away from chasing raw ratings numbers to the science of demographics, i.e. caring not just about how many people are watching, but what type of people. See, TV shows make their money by selling commercial time to advertisers, and with audience demographics becoming much easier to track at that point than any period before, advertisers were telling networks like CBS that even though a lot of people were watching shows like Green Acres, the majority of them tended to be older people themselves living in rural areas and or small towns who were more likely to save their money and shop mainly for necessities, whereas the advertisers were more interested in reaching younger viewers and especially viewers living in big urban metropolitan cities, even though it might be fewer of them because they tended to both spend money more frequently and shop more often for so-called luxuries and or high-end goods. By the way, by that same token, you know what supposedly classic show from the same era was never actually popular ratings-wise? ABC's own The Brady Bunch. Yeah, The Brady's never actually cracked the top 30 most-watched shows in the 5 seasons it was new. It was kept on the air long enough to be syndication ready, mainly because the audience that was watching it were teenagers, and advertisers generally love teenagers more than anything. In any case, I'd venture that something like that has a lot more to do with what's happening at ABC than some kind of sinister political melodrama. Advertisers in 2017 see the mostly white, older, conservative viewership of a series like Last Man Standing as less desirable for their bottom line in terms of what they spend and at what rate than the demographic groups drawn by shows that skew younger and or more politically socially diverse, hence the same network not only opting to keep sitcoms like Blackish, Modern Family, Speechless, and Fresh Off the Boat, but also largely apolitical fare like The Goldbergs or The Middle. While on the flip side, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Last Man Standing were to bounce back to life on a cable channel like CMT or ION, since another thing demographics allow is for smaller outfits to target a niche audience, though it would also depend on whether or not such a smaller channel can afford the likely hefty cost of employing Tim Allen, who, again, is considered a fairly big star in the medium, and presumably may just be waiting around for his next big paycheck for Toy Story 4. This is usually where I have some kind of grand, clever thesis statement to wrap everything up, but I really don't. This is kind of straightforward. So, that was an episode about TV ratings. See you next week. Hey gang, here's a question that keeps coming up. If your handle is moviebob, where are your movie reviews? Well, my old reviews are in a lot of places. You'll find many of them on my YouTube channel, but you'll find the brand new ones on geek.com, an awesome site that's also your one-stop news source for science, TV, gaming, technology, nerd culture, the works. You can find all my reviews directly by going to geek.com/author/bchipman, because that's my real name, and you can get regular updates on all my reviews and all of geek.com's other great content by signing up for their kick-ass newsletter at subscribe.geek.com. And don't forget to also subscribe to the Geek.com YouTube channel, where you'll find the videos that accompany my reviews and tons of other great content too. Remember, that's Geek.com, the Geek.com newsletter, and Geek.com on YouTube. Make sure you don't miss out on all the latest MovieBob reviews. You can also check out my own new website, MovieBob Central, where you'll find my blog, links to all my work, and shop for my books, ebooks, and future MovieBob products. And please remember to like these videos, share them with all of your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching another MovieBob production.